In this lecture, we're going to learn about optional output from functions. Sometimes you have a function like this which may return something useful or fail to give you whatever it is you want from the function. This one is supposed to find a given character in our string here, and if it finds the character, it's going to return the index where the character is in the string. Otherwise, it's going to return a -1. And this is one way we can handle optional output from functions. We use -1 to mean that our search has failed, and if the search hasn't failed, we're going to return the index of whatever character that we have found. This function is really simple. We're going to set up a variable called notFound. We're going to initialize this with a -1, and we're going to start looping around searching for our target character here. If we hit an iteration and this if statement returns true, we will know that we have found our character, and that's going to be our index, and we're going to return that. Otherwise, if the loop finishes and we haven't found a match, we're going to hit this statement here, and we're going to return a notFound, which happens to be a -1 here, and that's how we will know that this function actually found or didn't find our target character. So the message here is that our function here may fail, and we have a mechanism in place to help us handle that failure and know that when we are the callers of this program. Okay, here is a simple example that is going to use our function here. We have our target character, and we're going to say if find character v0, that's the version 0. We're going to do another version in a minute, and we're going to pass in our string, we're going to pass in our target character, and we are checking to see if the search is successful. If the return value from the function is different from -1 here, we know that we have found the character, and we're going to say that. If we want, we can even print the index where we found it, and we can print that out if we want. But now all we are interested in is whether the search is successful or not. And if the test here fails, we will know that we haven't found the character, and we will say that on the terminal here. Okay, this is one way, again, we can handle optional output from function. The successful output from this function is optional because it is possible for our function here not to find the target character. Okay, returning -1 like this is one way to do things. But some people just like to use parameters and use those to get data out of functions like we have seen before. Here is another version of our find character function. It is going to take an input string. Like you see here, it's going to take our target character that we're going to be searching for, but it is taking another third parameter, which is of Boolean type. So this can really store true or false values. It is passed by reference because we want to be able to modify that in our function. And if we find the character, notice here, we are going to set success to true and return from the function. If the loop goes on and finishes without finding our target character, success is going to be set to false, and we will know that we haven't found our character. And this is another way you can test if your function was successful or not. Okay, here is another version using our new function to search for our target character. The target character is a C, for example here. The message is hello world in C++20, and we're going to find the character. And we're going to be using our bool success variable here. And when we find the character, we're going to write in here a true. If we don't find the character, we're going to write a false in this success here, and we can check for that. If success is true, we're going to know that we found the character. If it's not, we're going to know that we didn't find our character. So this is one way we have. Again, these are two different ways we have to do optional output from functions. If the search is successful, we're going to print what we found. If the search is not successful, we have a mechanism in place to say that either through the return type of a function by setting that to a -1, or through a parameter through which we can write whether the search was successful or not. Now that you have an idea about this, we're going to head over to Visual Studio Code and actually see this in action. Okay, here we are in our working folder. The current project is optional output from functions. We're going to grab our template files pretty quick, and we're going to put them in place. And we are going to open this in Visual Studio Code simply by dragging and dropping on top of Visual Studio Code here. Let's do that. We're going to open our main CPP file, and we're going to clean the main function up. and close the left pane here. And we are going to go in front of main here and put in our first version of the find character function. The input is a string, a character. It has two inputs. We have a string through which we're going to search, and we have the character we're going to be searching for. And the function is supposed to give us the index of this character if it finds it in our string here. So it is going to set up a variable which is going to denote whether we found our thing or not, and we're going to loop around searching for the character. If we find the character, we're going to return the index where we found the character, and if the loop goes on without finding our character here, we're going to return -1, meaning that we didn't find what we were looking for. This is how the function is going to work. And again, the message is that this function can either find what we are looking for, or it can fail to find that. And we indicate failure by returning -1 here. That's how we check whether we found or didn't find what we were looking for here. Okay, now that we have the function set up here, let's set up a piece of code to use it. We're going to go in main and set up an std string. The name is going to be str1, and it is going to be initialized with a string literal which is saying hello world in C++20. The character we're going to be searching for is a C here, and we can go down and try to print the index of this character in this string here using the find character v0 function here. Let's do that. We're going to go down here and say stdcout, and we're going to say index, and we're going to say find character, and we're going to be searching in our string. We're going to pass it by const reference. I think we should do that. Yes, that's what we're doing here. So we're going to pass str1, and what we are searching for is C here. We can do stdandl here. And if you look, we are doing this in one step here, but you could do this in 2 steps if that's what is helping. For example, we could have set up an int variable and called this index, and assign a value of the return value from this function here, and assign that to our index variable here. I hope this makes sense. And we use int because index here can be negative. Remember, we indicate failure by returning a -1 here, so we can't use a size t here for the index. So that's why we use something that can represent negative numbers. Once we have this guy, we can print that out pretty easily. We're going to say index, and we're going to try and compile this program. Okay, let's do that. We're going to use GCC like we always do. The build is good, so we can try and run this program. We're going to bring up a terminal to try and run this. We are going to clear and run Rooster. You're going to see that index is 15, and if you count here, you're going to find that the C here lives at index 15. Let's count together. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. C is at index 15 here. If you try and search for something that isn't in this string here, we should get a -1. So for example, we can search for a Z here, uppercase, and if we bold again, the build is good, we can clear and run Rooster. We're going to get a -1 because we didn't find the Z here. So we can do a check and actually know whether we found what we were looking for or not. So we can go down here and say, we can actually take this line out. We don't need that anymore. We're going to say f find character and saying str1 and saying C as our search character. If the return value of this function call is different from -1, we can save that. We're going to know that we found what we were looking for. Let's double check and make sure that this is exactly what we want here. I think we need another parenthesis here to make this a valid if statement. Yes, we do. And if the return value of this function call is different from -1, we're going to know that we found our character here. So we're going to say stdcout found character, and we're going to say the character at index, and we're going to say the index where we found that guy. So we can say index. I think we can do that and do stdandl here to move to the next line. And we can even put in an else statement to print something if we didn't find it. So we're going to say didn't find our character. I think this is descriptive enough. Okay, we can try and run this program. So we're going to build with GCC. The build is going to go through. We can clear and run rooster now. And we're going to say didn't find our character. We are trying to look for a Z in this string and we don't have it. But if we try and look for an O, for example, we have an O here and we have many instances of O in this string. Let's see what we find. We're going to build this and we're going to use GCC. The build is good. So we can clear and run rooster. We're going to see that we found character O lowercase at index 4. And if we count this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we find this little guy. Our function is really working and we are handling optional output using the -1 here. Okay, this is one way we can handle optional output or make our functions be able to handle failure. And this is going to give us a way to test for failure and know that we found what we were looking for in here. Okay, using -1 here is one way, but some people don't like to do things like this. And another option is to use an input parameter, which is going to catch the result of our search here. We can do another version of our function down below here. And you see, it is saying void find character. It's not going to return anything. We're going to do our output using an input parameter here. And you see that our Boolean parameter here is passed by reference because we want to be able to modify it in our function here. So we're going to do our usual search. If we find what we are looking for, we're going to say success equals true here. If the loop goes on and finishes without finding what we are looking for, it's going to set success here to false. And when the function here is done, we can look in this variable success and know whether we found what we were looking for or not. Let's go down and comment out what we have here and use another way to find what we want. Okay, we are going to go down and set up a Boolean variable and we're going to call this success. I think we can call this success and we're going to initialize this to false. Then we're going to say find v1. I think that's the name of the function here. Find character v1. We're going to pass in 3 parameters, the string, the character we want to find, and our input parameter, which is going to store the search result. So we're going to go down and do that. We're going to pass in str1. We're going to pass in c, and we're going to pass in our success variable here. Once this function is done, we can print success and really know if we found what we were looking for. Let's do that first. So we're going to say success, and we're going to say success, and we can put a manipulator in front here and say bool alpha to show output using true or false. We can build again with the GCC. The build is going to be good. We can clear and run rooster. Success is true. We found what we were looking for, which was an O character in this string here. But again, if we change our target character to a Z, we're not going to find this in this string here. Let's build this and see what we see on the terminal here as our output. We're going to clear and run rooster, and success is false here. So what we can do now is go down and change our check here. We can take all this out, or we can say if success, can do that. And we're going to say found what we were looking for. So we're going to copy this, for example, and put that in here. We're going to say found character C, and we don't have index information with this new function here. So we're going to take out this thing here. We're just going to say that we found character C in our string. I think this is enough. So found character C in our string. So we're going to say, I think this is going to be enough in our string here. Okay, and if this guy is on the wrong spot, we're going to grab this and put that inside our block here, our if block, and else we're going to say that we didn't find the character. Okay, we can do that and we can take all this out. I think this is going to give us the message in a much more descriptive way. So we're going to build with GCC. The build is good. We can clear and run rooster. And we didn't find the character because we were searching for a Z in this string here. But again, if we change this to an R, for example, we're going to find this little guy here. And we're going to say we found it. Okay, we can clear and run rooster. We're going to say we found R in our string here. And this is just another way we can handle optional output in our functions here. Again, if the function finds what we want, it's going to return true. If it doesn't find that, it's going to return false. And either way may be meaningful depending on the design of your application. I am just trying to give you all the possible options to handle optional output in your C++ programs. Okay, these two ways are going to work, but I would argue that somebody looking at your function here wouldn't really know what this -1 here means. To know this, they have to go through and really read the logic of your functions. And on the second version here, they don't know what this success variable means. So to have good information on using your functions here, they either have to read the source code themselves or they have to read the documentation that you have provided for your functions here. So many people may do things differently, and it is not a standard way to do things. C++ 17 introduced std optional as a way to handle optional output in a much more standardized way. And we're going to start and learn about this in the next lecture. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.